Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. But you guys, our team builder and pregame press conference for week 5 of WBE. The Minnesota Vikavolts are taking on the Newcastle Nidokings and Coach Patters, a fellow Dan. This is going to be a pretty interesting matchup here. I'm going to break down the teams, his team, my team, when I'm bringing, why I'm bringing it. And I put a lot of time into preparation this week, so I hope you guys are excited to see what we're bringing. I think we got some really cool stuff. A little bit of strategy that's outside of my comfort zone, but I do think it's going to be very effective against Patter's team. Now, I always ask that you hit that like button down below, of course, and the match will be up tomorrow, so get excited for that. And last but not least, code aDrive is going to get you 30% off your GFUEL purchase right now. If you don't know, GFUEL is an incredible drink, man. It's basically an energy drink with 25 calories and 0 sugar. I legitimately drink it every single day, and you can save 30% right now. Bahama Mama is my favorite flavor, but I also like Peach Iced Tea, Tropical Rain, a bunch of other ones, man. So check it out. I'll put the link in the description. But anyway, without further ado, let's just kind of jump into things here. His team, he's sitting at 2-2, right? 2-2, -4 differential. His losses were to like Wolf and John, so some pretty tough opponents there. He's got a pretty scary team, but I think we can handle it. So let's talk about it. He's got Tapu Koko, 100%. He's bringing Tapu Koko. I actually expect him to lead it. There's a few different ways he could bring it. He could bring a Fairy Z Dazzling Gleam set. I could see him bringing, the thing is with my team, he needs coverage, right? Like, I feel like he needs Brave Bird. I feel like he needs Grass Knot. He needs an electric move. He probably needs a fairy move. So I'm expecting him to bring 4 attacks and either Life Orb or Z move or Expert Belt, something like that. Those are the sets that I'm expecting. Terrakion, most likely coming. I could see it being Choice Scarf. I think Choice Scarf makes a lot of sense. Maybe Swords Dance, but if it comes, it's going to be Close Combat, Stone Edge, you know, either Swords Dance or not, and then I could see Earthquake probably, and then maybe Zen Headbutt in terms of his attacking moves because of Venusaur. Nevertheless, like I said, Choice Scarf or Swords Dance are the 2 most probable sets. Very scary Pokemon. It can be very difficult to switch into, especially if it starts hitting those Stone Edges. Stone Edge, big play, but it obviously has that big chance to miss. Hippowdon, again, I feel like Hippowdon is coming 1,000,000%. I have a Mega Metric, and Hippowdon is his best way to stop that. So I expect kind of a mixed defensive Hippowdon set. I think Stealth Rocks, Earthquake, maybe Whirlwind or Roar, Slack Off, I think makes a lot of sense. You could try to tech like Fire Fang on there or Toxic to try to hit some other things. Snorlax, I think, could also come. I don't know if, so here's the thing. The damage calculator is actually broken, and it says that Kyurem-Black's ice moves do not go through Thick Fat. However, Terravolt does ignore Thick Fat. As far as I know, I did a little bit of testing. I did some research. It just seems like the calculator doesn't have that correct. So I don't know if he's going to bring Snorlax thinking he can take hits from Kyurem. If he doesn't do the full research, he might actually think that Snorlax can handle Kyurem, but it definitely cannot. Either way, I think Snorlax is a decent bring this week. Probably Body Slam. Maybe Curse Recycle, I think, makes more sense than Rest Sleep Talk. I think Rest Sleep Talk is a bit of a wonky set for him. I think the Berry with Curse Recycle probably makes more sense. But again, if he's bringing it with Thick Fat, then Rest Talk is probably better. But I just don't think he has the movesets to really run Curse, Rest, Sleep Talk. I just don't think it's that good of a set for him. He's got the Escavalier, which again, 100% coming. It's really the only thing that switches into my Kyurem-Black is the Escavalier. He probably brings like a mix set, maybe like defensive with knockoff Iron Head, Mega Horn, or something like that. Maybe Poison Jab or Drill Run or something like that, potentially. The Escavalier is most likely to be either Assault Vest or Oka Berry to take those fire type moves a little bit better. But again, I'm expecting the Escavalier to come, but it's funny because I'll talk about it a little bit. It's his really only switch into Kyurem-Black, so that's pretty cool. The Typhlosion is a maybe bring if it comes. It's Choice Scarf, I would imagine, or Z Crystal. I don't think Specs is that good against me. Eruption's really powerful. It can run Hidden Power Grass and Solar Beam, but I don't necessarily anticipate the Typhlosion. I think it could come, but I don't think it's the hugest problem considering the team I brought. He's got the Venomoth. Venomoth is actually one of the more scary Pokemon on the team. If it hits a Sleep Powder, it can pretty freely set up Quiver Dances, and that makes it very scary because its Tinted Lens ability allows it to ignore resistances. One thing I will mention is it only ignores 1 set of resistances, so Skarmory, which is Steel and Flying, actually does still resist Bug Buzz, and it's immune to Sludge Bomb, so that's pretty important to note that I can still take a hit from that thing. So that may dissuade the Venomoth in general from coming because, again, there are some kind of hiccups there with you know, he has to hit the Sleep Powder. You know, I don't know. I'm not sold that he brings it, but it is a big threat. Executor is one of those mons that I could see him bringing as well. It could run Trick Room with a max special attack. and run like Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, Psychic, you know, Giga Drain, something in that regard. Executor definitely a threat, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brought a Trick Room set. Swoobat is actually one of the things I'm most scared of. I don't think he brings Swoobat. I have a Lycanroc, I have a Skarmory, I have a Kyurem, I have Mega Manectric. Like, I just don't see how you look at that team and say, okay, I'm gonna bring Swoobat. But the thing I'm scared of is Electric Seed, Calm Mind, like Stored Power, Heat Wave, Swoobat, dude. Like, such a random set, but I really feel like that set could actually put in work against me. I have played against it in prep, so I know what to expect from Swoobat. He can't just run Mono Psychic, so I at least know I can remove some of those moves. Like, he's not gonna have Taunt, Roost, you know, Calm Mind. He only has so many move slots, so that's good to know. I don't think Swoobat comes, though, like I said. I mean, when I have a Mega Manectric and all these things, I just don't see Swoobat really being that viable. And that Mega Gyarados, which in my opinion is one of the most threatening Mega Pokemon in the format. This thing is an absolute positive monster, dude. If he brings it, I think he does. It's just an offensive Dragon Dance set. Like, that's all you really ever need to run on Gyarados is just Dragon Dance, 3 attacks, or sub Dragon Dance, 2 attacks. Waterfall, Crunch, make a lot of sense. I could see him trying to fit Iron Head on there, maybe Earthquake. Those are the moves that I'm expecting from that. In terms of the 6 that I think he's going to bring, I think Koko, Hippowdon, Escavalier, 100% brings. Those 3, just lock them in now. I think Terrakion, Snorlax, Gyarados round out the 3. I think you can swap either Terrakion or Gyarados out for a Venomoth or an Executor. That's kind of what I'm anticipating. You could also, I could see maybe a swap out with Snorlax and maybe going Terrakion or something, but that's generally what I'm expecting to bring. So let's talk about our team and how I decided to build this week. Kicking things off, I'm gonna be bringing my Venusaur. Venusaur is the Pokemon I picked up in free agency. We used it last week as a way to stop Nihilego. This week it has a great matchup, and I love this thing on paper, man. First of all, it forces Koko to run Brave Bird. If Koko doesn't have Brave Bird, walled 100%. I take the Electric, the Fairy, and the Grass type, Grass Knot moves. Easy peasy. You see I have Roar on there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Giga Drain, Synthesis, Sludge Bomb, we are fully physically defensive. And this thing is also my Gyarados response, man. Gyarados does very little to me. He has to basically get defense drops with Crunch or Iron Head flinches to really do much, and I can Giga Drain and get a lot of health back. Don't forget about Overgrow. If I'm dropped below a third of health, I'm actually getting more powerful with my Giga Drains. This thing can switch into the Hippowdon relatively well. It can Sludge Bomb the Executor, and it can also take hits from Terrakion. Terrakion's strongest move is Close Combat. It does very little to Venusaur. Venusaur just has a really good matchup this week, and Roar is there because he does have some setup sweepers. That Venomoth, that Gyarados, the Terrakion, the Snorlax. You can see a lot of different Pokemon that can set up the Swoobat that normally Venusaur could be setup fodder for. I've got the Tech Roar there. One thing a little annoying is the Sand does weaken my Synthesis, but I felt like Synthesis was more important than Leech Seed this week. Even though Leech Seed's kind of nice, I really need that guaranteed recovery for this Venusaur to do exactly what I want it to do. Now we're going to bring Big Daddy Kyurem Black, the Night King, and this is a max attack, max bulk Kyurem, dude. I've got full HP pretty much, max attack, Free Shock, Substitute, Dragon Claw, Fusion Bolt, ICMZ Free Shock. For those who don't know, it's his physical attacking move. It takes 2 turns to use. You charge it and then you attack, but it is a massively powerful attack with ICMZ. We can also potentially combo with sub Free Shock to be able to sub up on a switch and then Free Shock and decimate something mid-game. I was originally going to lead with this thing, but I'm going to not lead with it because I actually think it's better off mid-game to break something. But the only thing that switches into a Free Shock on his team is Escavalier, and it promptly gets knocked out by Fusion Bolt on the next turn. So that's something really important to know. One thing I will also mention in pregame here, I mean, Gyarados I think can live if it's Mega'd, but you know, it doesn't take Fusion Bolt afterwards. This thing can take hits from Gyarados, it can take hits from Koko, and if he's not Fairy MZ, I take the Dazzling Gleam. I can take hits from Typhlosion, Hippo does nothing, Snorlax does nothing again. Terravolt ignores that thick fat. So I can actually even take an Iron Head from the Escavalier if I need to because I'm max bulk. So that's really cool there. But this thing, like I said, its job, I got to find it. I think the opportunity is he goes into Hippowdon. I go right into Kyurem on his Stealth Rocks or whatever, Earthquake, doesn't really matter. And then something dies. And that's going to be kind of our game plan. I really need Night King to pick up 2 kills this game. I think if Night King can pick up 2 kills, 1 on a Free Shock and 1 on something else, whether it's you know, just a regular Free Shock or the IC, like separately from the ICMZ, I think we're going to be in really good shape here in this matchup. Next Pokemon is going to be our Florges. I'll be honest, this was actually going to be Passimian. I was bringing Passimian up until yesterday, and I made the change to Florges. And the reason being is, in some of my practice matches, I found that things like Executor and Typhlosion were actually really scary for my team. So I decided to put Florges on the team. I lose a little bit of power from Passimian because it was a Choice Scarf Passimian. But I was thinking, you know what? It's not really that big of a deal. Toxic's really nice for Hippowdon and for non-rest Snorlaxes. Moonblast is really good. This also gives me another way to deal with Koko. Koko is such a big problem. Like, I have multiple multiple answers to Koko on this team. It's also a thing that can switch into Gyarados. If he doesn't have Iron Head, we easily take those hits. So, and we can do a lot of damage back with Moonblast. Wish and Protect is really nice too to help out the team, kind of give me that switch into Kyurem, because the more switch-ins I get into Kyurem, the better off this match is going to go. We're going to get our Gastrodon in here. Gary is, I think, the only Pokemon on the team that's actually been to every single game. This dude is a beast, and I love this little guy. I'm bringing a more physically defensive set, but kind of mixed defenses. Clear Smog, Earthquake, Scald, Recover. I'm going to go into this match, and as long as Tapu Koko is in the team preview, I'm bringing Gastrodon as my lead. Every practice match I did, Tapu Koko led, and I expect Patters to do the same. If he doesn't, it's fine, but Gastrodon has a really good matchup against so many things if it's at full health. So, it's just really good, man. Clear Smog is also a really cool tech to hit something like Swoobat, Venomoth, or Gyarados if they're trying to set up on me. I can remove those stat changes and really force them out. And of course, the Rindo Berry there for those grass type attacks. One thing I also want to note is we are running Sand Force and not Water Absorb, or Storm Drain rather. And the reason for that is his only water type attacker is the Gyarados, but it has Mold Breaker, so it would ignore our ability anyway. So Sand Force actually gives us boosted Earthquakes if Sand is up from Hippowdon. So kind of a cool little tech there. Just something that not really a big deal, probably doesn't factor into the match, but it's something that those are little things in team building that I do think make a difference. Now we're going to get to the core of the team here and kind of what the main strategy is going to be, and that is going to be our Skarmory here. It is running no attacks, max defense, spikes, toxic, whirlwind, roost. For those who don't know, spikes instead of stealth rocks are very interesting, and in this matchup I actually think they're better. When he has the things like the Terrakion, the Hippowdon, things like that that resist stealth rock, then it doesn't do as well, but spikes are so good. And you look at his team, and the only realistic defogger that I expect Patters to potentially bring is Koko, and I already talked about Koko needing those attacks. If it has defog, then it's less of a threat to the rest of my team. So I'm really expecting Koko to be carrying, like I said, no defog. I don't think Venomoth comes with defog. I don't think Swoobat brings defog, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely think he just doesn't bring removal because he probably thinks, okay, he's just going to set up Stealth Rocks. But we're going to try to spike stack him. And Skarmory has such a great matchup against Hippowdon, Escavalier, Snorlax, Terrakion, and even Gyarados in a way, in the sense that every time I get this thing in on one of those, I can set up a layer of spikes. And if I can get 3 layers up of spikes, you already saw Roar on Venusaur, you saw Whirlwind on Skarmory, 2 different Pokemon that can force switches on the switches. So I could be doing 25% to everything that switches in, and you can see how that is the core strategy here. His team just gets whittled down, whittled down, whittled down from spikes, allowing my defensive Pokemon to just straight up outbeat him because he won't be able to break through them once everything's weakened. So that is going to be our strategy. I'm not going to lead with Skarmory. Skarmory comes in on Hippo, Snorlax, Escavalier primarily, sets up spikes. It draws in the Koko. Koko comes in every time, which is one of the reasons why I like Florges on the team as well, because it gives me an extra switch into to Koko. But yeah, that's going to be our strategy. Get them spikes up and hopefully, you know, just whirlwind them around and really make him mad, to be honest. And then last but not least is going to be our Lycanroc. I pretty much have to bring Lycanroc because Venomoth and Swoobat are such big setup threats. Lycanroc this week with Excel Rock does a lot of damage there. It does nothing to Hippowdon though. So I have to get Hippowdon down low enough that Brick Break can kill, at least on a switch in, because otherwise, like, the Hippowdon just comes in every day against Lycanroc and just slack offs up. So that's why Toxic on the Skarmory was really important instead of Brave Bird. I really felt like having Toxic on that, and Florges allows me to beat the Hippo relatively well. Gastro beats it, and Venusaur both beat it 1v1, so I have my ways to beat Hippo, but Lycanroc does so much work against this team. If he's not Scarf Terrakion, we one-shot it with Brick Break after a layer of spikes. And then everything else, like Snorlax doesn't want to take Brick Breaks, Excel Rock obliterates Typhlosion, Venomoth, Swoobat, Brick Break beats the Gyarados if he's not speed boosted yet. I can do some damage to the Executor, which again I have Florges for anyway. And if I happen to get a Swords Dance up, then Excel Rock just really goes in, so that's something else to note. But that's going to be our team builder here. I left a couple things off the team, obviously. I did not bring, let's see here. This is actually the same 6 I brought last week, which I think is funny, but I did not bring Passimian. I told you why. I brought Florges instead. I didn't bring Mega Manectric. I think that Patters is going to expect Mega Manectric, because HP Ice actually does like 30% to Hippowdon, so it's not that bad if I make a prediction. I was thinking about bringing a Magnet Rise set, but we're going to go away from that. But anyway, Manectric really scares a lot of his team, so I think he prepares for Manectric for sure. But I decided not to bring it because, again, Hippowdon just stopped it dead cold, and I wanted to focus on the spike strategy, and I needed a lot of defensive Pokemon to really make that work as effectively as I wanted it to. Talonflame, I actually think has a decent matchup as well. You know, I could just, if I was running Fly Z, like, there's not a switch in on the team. Actually, Koko is the only switch in a Fly Z on his team, which is pretty crazy. So Talonflame is definitely something that he has to prepare for. And then Zoroark, Zoroark is okay in this matchup. Like, it could have been okay if I tricked it and ran like Nasty Plot, and I could really bait out those walls, because we would obliterate Hippowdon. And if we had like Fight Z on it, we could obliterate the Snorlax and stuff like that. So you know, that was definitely an option too. Like, I could have disguised like I don't know, Skarmory or something as Zoroark, and it would have been really scary, or even Gastrodon as Zoroark. That could have been really, really scary, because I just set up and then just fight Z. I could fight Z the Gyarados, I could fight Z the, you know, the Snorlax. It would have been a nut set, but again, those are the mons we left out, because you can only bring 6 Pokemon. So that's our team, that's our battle strategy. Get up spikes, find the opportunities to get up spikes. It's gonna be really important that I use my Kyurem correctly in this match. I gotta get that Z move off at the right time, and it's gotta nuke something. And if I can do that, I can get 3 layers up of spikes, which is gonna be the objective, and start shuffling things around with Roar. I think we're going to be in good shape, man. I have a lot of good defensive Pokemon this week. Bringing 4 defensive Pokemon and a max HP Kyurem. So this team is bulky. And the other thing I want to note is Synthesis, Wish Protect, Recover, and Roost. I have 4 forms of recovery on this team. So I am going to spike stack and start roaring and whirlwinding things around, and hoping that I don't whirlwind in Coco, and I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I hope we get the right switches there. We could really put some pressure on, especially if he doesn't bring Defog. If he brings Defog, again, that makes Coco less threatening, because it's missing a move, which means it can't hit something on the team, whether it's Gastro or Venusaur most likely. So, you know, if he brings that, then he's missing out on something, or he doesn't beat Kyurem. Something gets, he doesn't beat something. So, yeah, that's our strategy, man. Let's do it. Hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new. You're not going to want to miss tomorrow's battle. I'll see you guys there. Peace.